In today's economy, every ad dollar counts. That's why performance marketers are turning to Rocked Ads to reach high intent customers in the transaction moment when they're completing a purchase online. Powered by AI and first party data, Rocked Ads connects your brand with over 400 million global shoppers, and you only pay when customers engage. Learn more at rocked.com/adage. That's ROKT.com/adage.
Hi, I'm Brandon Dorr, brand marketing reporter at AdAge. Welcome to another edition of the Marketer's Brief podcast, our weekly discussion of news and trends that have the industry buzzing. Today, I'll be chatting with Grace Gao, Chief Marketing Officer of Snap. She's Snap's first CMO since 2023. She first joined the company in January this year as its VP of Consumer and Business Marketing, and very quickly found herself in the CMO seat in April, just a month before she was set to lead her first new front for the social app. Grace joins us today to talk about becoming Snap's CMO after spending some time leading global marketing at Spotify and Instagram. She discusses her first campaign as Snap CMO, which launched at the NewFront. That campaign's called Say It in a Snap, and it introduces new ad tools that lets advertisers message users directly or through creators. We also talk about her future plans for marketing Snap this year, as well as AI and hurricane predictions. Here's the conversation with Grace. Grace Gao, welcome to the Marketer's Brief podcast.
Oh my goodness. Thank you so much for having me, Brandon. So nice to have this time together.
Yeah, it's wonderful to have you. Thank you for joining us. All right, well, I wanted to start, you'd been with Snapchat for a few months before you became CMO in April. Can you tell me a little bit about how you found yourself in this position, how the first, early months in this role have been? I know before Snap, you spent a little while at Spotify and Instagram. Maybe just talk about the background leading up to becoming CMO in April and just how the first few months have been.
Snapchat has always been on my list of places that I want to work at. If you look at the places that you name, whether it's Spotify or Instagram, I've always been attracted to really creative, fun, youthful companies. And Snapchat falls exactly into that category. So it's been definitely some place I've always wanted to work. I really admired the values of smart, kind, and creative. And so that was a culture that I was looking for my next step. And here I am. And it's been great.
How have the first few months been? Can you talk a little bit about like what your priorities have been, how you've gone about approaching those?
Yeah, I think for me, a lot of what I was really excited about was that I felt that the brand was at an inflection point. If you look at the work that was happening last year from Snapchat, we had this proclamation out that we were, less social media, more Snapchat, less likes, more love. And I love that we drew a line in the sand of what we weren't. And so for us this year as a brand, I felt that the creative opportunity was to tell people what we are. And so when I started going through many different avenues of what we could be and what we say we want to stake our claim on, it was fascinating in the sense of that we came back down to our roots, right? Like so many brands, like what is at that core essence? And what we felt that was at that core was the snap. And that when we had started this company, it was this core belief that it shouldn't be that hard to connect with people that you love. It shouldn't be that hard to connect with friends and family. So could we make something that was simple and raw and really capture the moment and make it very easy and fast for you to connect with someone? And that's kind of where Snapchat was founded on. That's where the Snap was born. So Satan and Snap was about that, and the fact like we want to be that place where people can be themselves, express themselves in that moment anytime.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit more about Say It with Snap. I think is that the first campaign Snapchat has rolled out under your leadership? That was the first one you handled?
It is. Thank you for noticing, Brandon. It is. That launched at NewFronts. So we announced it at NewFronts in front of our marketers and advertiser audience. And then from a consumer standpoint, we had an out-of-home campaign in all these iconic New York locations like Madison Square Garden, as well as out in Central Station. So yeah, we were really happy and very proud of that campaign that launched in May.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit about what that campaign was about. I know As part of it, you guys announced a whole bunch of tools, sponsored snaps, a few different ways for brands and advertisers to interact with sponsored snaps, some other tools as well. Maybe can we just go over a little bit like what that campaign was about?
Yeah. So, on the highest level, from a brand standpoint, as I mentioned before, if last year was about what we weren't, this year was what we are. What we are is about being a place that people can connect in the fastest and easiest way possible. But most importantly, that you can be yourself, right? In the most expressive, uh, unfiltered way. And so, we felt that from a brand standpoint, what a great place to be, right? Where people are craving more positivity, craving for more authenticity. I feel like those expectations from a brand are just the same. I think people want brands to show up in a much more unfiltered, uncurated, and authentic way. And so Save and Snap has at both levels. This is like on the consumer level, fastest and easiest to communicate, but on a brand level, how can you also communicate and connect in the fastest, easiest way with your audience? And so, if that's our brand message, if you look at some of the products that we're launching from an advertising standpoint, the most almost coveted surface within Snapchat is that messaging chat space. And so we were really proud to roll out at New Fronts and start beta testing last year was this idea of sponsored snaps. So in that intimate place where people can chat and message each other, brands can actually message and chat directly with their audience as well. And so we felt like that was a really great creative opportunity that we wanted to also come out and announce at New Fronts. The second great product that we're super proud of is Promoted Places. So if you look at Snapchat, we have actually one of the most used apps in the world is Maps. And the fact that people use Maps so they can feel connected to their friends, again, gives brands a great opportunity for them to feel like they can seamlessly fit into people's worlds in the most authentic and real way, in a real time way as well.
Let's talk a little bit more about sponsored snaps. There's a few different ways that brands can participate, right? Like it can have a sponsored snap. What are a few different ways a brand
Yeah,
could buy
there's
a
two
sponsored snap?
there's really actually two main ways. One is you can absolutely, as a brand, uh, have a direct snap in our chat surface. And so I can get a snap from a brand, I open it up, and it gives you full screen, full video. So you almost have like a takeover immediately. And again, that environment is such a positive environment because it is within the chat and where people feel like they can have the most intimate conversations and intimate connections. The other way you can do it is actually work with our many snap stars or creators, where a creator can send a snap directly to your audience and they can open it up. And then it'll be, again, a full screen video of a creator who can organically talk about their experience with your brand. And so those are two areas that we feel, again, offer new creative opportunities for brands that they can't get anywhere else.
Are both of these tools publicly available yet?
Yes, they are open for business.
Can we talk about some of the examples of brands who have used each? I think I saw on the website Wendy's was listed as one of them.
That's right. Wendy's is one of our very proud case studies that came out. And what we've seen is high conversions that they couldn't get anywhere else, right? So again, Wendy's sent a straight snap to their audiences, again, through our targeting tools. You open it up and you get a message from Wendy's full screen about an amazing new promotion that they were having. And then they saw immediate results the next day in terms of high engagement that they haven't seen anywhere else. And I think really it's that takeover environment that you don't feel like you have to compete versus a scrolling behavior per se. And Wendy's is one of our first sponsored Snaps beta partners. And yeah, we were so excited to roll that out with them.
This is a campaign that was more tailored to advertisers, right? You talked about last year was about Snapchat showing what it's not. This year's about Snapchat showing what it is. This most recent campaign is an example of showing brands what you guys are. I'm curious what are some of the ways you are thinking about showing consumers what you are this year as you look forward to the rest of the year?
I would say the campaign actually talks to both audiences. You know, for me, I've been a B2B marketer for a while now, and I think you'll hear again, I think some of the best B2B campaigns out there is never to forget that it's a human being and a person behind that business marketer. So I think for me, when I look at Say It and Snap, I don't see it as only a B2B campaign. I see it as a consumer campaign as well. And so when you look at the campaign and you look at the work, it really is about how people use Snap to connect and bring people closer. And I think for brands is be able to see, oh wow, I can use the same way that people connect with each other as consumers, and again show up like a Snapchatter and not feel like you have to be an interruption to someone.
What has been some of, I guess, the feedback to sponsored snaps so far? Obviously, Wendy's had great results, but curious if you have a more like broader general consensus reactions from the industry as to the excitement levels, if there's anything you would tweak about it going forward.
Yeah, I think everyone is very interested in our sponsored snaps. I think for me, the opportunity is for the industry to realize messaging and business messaging in particular is a new area that they can actually explore in. But I think that's something I think from Snapchat we're really trying to push is that yes, everyone's talking about AI. And yes, short form video is definitely a key area for everyone, including us at Snapchat. But I think for us on an innovation front and thinking about new surfaces that brands haven't been thinking about, we absolutely think messaging is an untapped, innovative area that brands definitely need to think about. If you look at what you do every single day. And when we look at our community of what they do every single day, it's messaging. And I think on average, people open up Snapchat 40 times, over 40 times a day, just to message each other. So if you think about that as a creative opportunity, well, I think that's kind of where sponsor snaps came from.
Up next, Grace chats about Snap's new trend report released today, as well as AI and her canned predictions. That's coming up shortly on the Marketer's Brief.
In today's economy, every ad dollar counts. That's why performance marketers are turning to Rocked Ads to reach high intent customers in the transaction moment when they're completing a purchase online. Powered by AI and first party data, Rocked Ads connects your brand with over 400 million global shoppers, and you only pay when customers engage. Learn more at rocked.com/adage. That's ROKT.com/adage.
And we're back. So what today, as of today, when this episode releases, Snapchat will have released a new report. Can you talk a little bit about the report that is coming out when this episode comes out?
Yeah, I would say that one of the asks that we get from our partners all the time is, what is your community doing? Particularly, what are Gen Z and millennials doing and what do they care about? And so that's what this report really is to answer the demand of us being able to share trends and insights that we see on our platform. And so it is our Snapchat generation report, which we will be launching at Cannes. And what it walks through is insights that we've been seeing, behaviors that we'll be seeing that are top of mind, and then opportunities that we feel like could actually guide advertisers and brands to be more successful on Snapchat.
Yeah. What are some of the trends that you guys are seeing right now on the platform?
Well, just to give you a sneak preview, there are a few things that we see. I think one we would say is that maybe there was a time where curation and performance in regards to creating stories that were very crafted on a platform was key. The trends that we're seeing is actually more raw and unfiltered of what I mentioned before. I think people are craving more moments and bite-sized pieces of content that isn't overly crafted and overly curated. So we're seeing lots of more raw content. I think the other thing that we saw is you think of Snapchat as a very visual platform, just to give you a sneak peek, but we're seeing actually much more voice memos and voice chat on our platform. And so I think people having almost these private podcasts, which is so funny, Brandon, because we're in a podcast now, but we're almost seeing these private podcasts that are happening between people on Snapchat, which was also a very surprising trend that we saw. And then I think the other thing, besides giving all a report away, is that we do see people wanting to create more themselves and easy AI tools. So we have Gen AI lenses that people can actually put themselves in. And so having fun or funny ways to engage your audience on platform using these creative tools, we've seen also success on.
You mentioned that this is a report that's going to be shown displayed in full at Cannes. Can you talk a little bit more about your Cannes presence? I imagine you yourself are probably going to be on the ground there.
Yes, I am very lucky that I will be able to be at Cannes. Yeah, we are super excited. We will be along the beach in many different activations. We'll be on stage as well as hopefully having lots of great activations in the nighttime as well. I think what we're super excited, or what I get excited about Cannes every single year, is actually to see what the industry is excited about and to also learn from the best of the best. I think that's what's the best thing about Cannes is that you have all the great minds across the industry. And Snapchat, I think we feel very honored to be part of that.
Do you have predictions as to what is maybe going to really dominate the conversation at Cannes this year?
Brandon, I wonder if we should have a drinking game on how many times we're going to mention AI, right? I think AI will definitely be a very, very hot topic. I think what I'm excited about is that I'm sure there'll be discussions around how AI can be an efficient way to reach our audiences. Obviously, we'll be there too, talking about our Snapchat smart campaign solutions that do that. But I think I'm really excited about maybe having the conversation of AI in relation to creative tools and how we can create better experiences on the platform or all our platforms in regards to engaging our audiences in new ways. So I mentioned our Gen AI lens. That is actually a sponsorable way for brands to participate, where you can actually sponsor a Gen AI lens and put your audience in some sort of branded experience using AI and AR. So I think we're really super excited to have conversations about that. And I think the other, what I would say, trends out of Cannes that I think Snapchat we're hoping to talk about is about new surfaces and new creative platforms that you haven't considered before. So whether it's messaging, which I've talked about in this time with you, but again, maps, again, as another creative surface where you can, again, engage your audience in real time and have kind of that in real time and in real life connection. And then, of course, camera, which for us is, again, another amazing, great surface that brands can take advantage of because we know that this audience really loves to create themselves. And so whether it's messaging, map, or camera, those are some creative surfaces that we hope to use as a way to inspire all the brands that are coming to Cannes and spending time with us.
What are some elements of the AI conversation or the way that this industry likes to talk about AI that maybe get overlooked? Like, are there things that marketers should be paying more attention to when it comes to utilizing AI in this industry that maybe actually don't get talked about enough from your perspective?
Yeah, I think for me, AI is almost always discussed in the context of efficiency, right? Efficiency in regards to whether it is capitalizing your media buys or being to understand your audiences, how to surface data in more quicker and faster ways. And I think it's so exciting to see for for AI to maybe be in more of a discussion of creative tooling and how do we use AI to inspire better work, right? And great work. And whether that is opening opportunities for having an AI instead of just reaching, but using an AI as a common ground tool for you to make something with your audience is where I feel like perhaps there could be more opportunities for discussion around. And I think that's where we feel Snapchat, where AI has been part of our DNA over the years and our innovations around AR, we always felt like, oh, even you look at Snapchat, the first thing that it opens up to is always the camera. Like, how do you bring that connection with your audience, with a brand, and using AI to make something together to create great work. And I think that is something, yeah, I know for me, we are wanting to have more of that conversation with our partners.
All right, Grace, I think that is all we have time for. It was really good to chat. Thanks for joining us here on the Marketers Brief. That was Grace Gao, Chief Marketing Officer of Snap. I'm Brandon Dorr, Brand Marketing Reporter at Ad Age. I'd like to thank our producer, Lauren Chiardio, and invite you to subscribe to the Marketers Brief podcast, wherever you get your podcast. We promise we'll keep it brief.
Marketers Brief listeners get $40 off an adage.com subscription. Sharpen your marketing edge and visit adage.com/brief for your discount.